Hi everyone, how are you? I'm Kate Conway. I haven't seen most of you since the Christmas party, so I hope you've been well. I'm not dressed as Santa today, but I'm still very excited to be representing for Social Enterprise NI for the conference. So let's kick off then. I have the very official stuff to do. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You are so 21. We have a very packed programme for you today. To say the least, you're going to hear from some very inspiring speakers and have the opportunities to network here in the very fancy virtual platform. I've seen in the chat lots of people commenting on how much they like it. I'll explain how that all works shortly. Now, it's been a very difficult year since the last conference. You don't need me to tell you. This year's has been held online for obvious reasons, and it's going to be shorter than usual. As we know, you probably have Zoom fatigue and you have plenty of other things to do. So the focus remains on quality, not quantity this year. So today is all about finding out how the amazing sector has continued to operate during the past year or so, and how many of our members, some of whom you're going to hear from today, have pivoted or adapted in the recent months. The title of this year's conference is, of course, Build Back Social, and we'll hear how some of our members innovated to keep their business afloat and make them turnover, in fact. We're also delighted to be joined by three social entrepreneurs from the Republic of Ireland. They are Dave Neville from JumpAgrade, Karen Leigh from Sensational Kids, and the new CEO of Social Enterprise Republic of Ireland, Tammy Darcy. We look forward to hearing from them later on. And our main guest speaker today is Chris Bryson of the Wild Hearts Group. Since joining Wild Hearts in 2014, Chris has played a key role in managing continual growth and strategic relationships across the group. His passion for social entrepreneurship has helped build the Wild Hearts Group into a multi-million-pound organisation and become one of the leading social enterprises globally. Chris regularly represents Wild Hearts around the globe, working with institutions like the UN, Yale University and Babson College to inspire the next generation of social entrepreneurs. Events with the support of our sponsors. Social Enterprise NI would like to thank them all for their continued support, especially the main sponsor and partner, the Department for Economy, along with conference partners, Community Finance Ireland and Spark. This event also would not happen without them. And also our thanks to the following organisations. We would like to say a huge thank you also to Department of Communities, to Edwards & Co, Firmus Energy, FSB, the Go For It Programme, Halifax Foundation, Hayes Recruitment, Lockton Insurance, the Housing Executive, Northern Ireland Local Government Association, Ulster Bank Social and Community Capital, and Viable Corporate Services. A huge thank you to all of you for everything you do. Now you can see their logos at the side of the screen. These are links. Please remember to engage with them when you get a chance and see if there are ways for your organisation to work. We have leaders who's working in the background today to make sure that the platform runs seamlessly today. She may appear at some stage. Speaking of which, we want you to get the most from this event. So can I invite you to click on the button that says chat? If you do, you'll see the general chat, and that's where you can post your comments for everyone to see. If you want to message somebody directly, like send a personal message to someone, you can do that if you search for their name and then click on that and send the message directly to them. Now, if you're trying to flirt with someone, make sure you don't get those two mixed up or it could be very embarrassing. General chat goes to everybody. Your agenda is also in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you see the little icon that looks like a notebook, we're going to have a 10-minute networking slot round about 11 or so after the panel finished speaking. But before we get the conference underway, we have a very special open from the LA. Let's take a look, Lucy. Thank you so much, Minister Dawes, to you for the continued support Excellent news. Delighted to hear that Social Enterprise NI have been awarded the contract to deliver the Social Economy Work Programme on behalf of the Department of the Economy for the next 3 years. Well done. Ordinarily, I'd be asking for a round of applause at this stage. It feels very odd to be doing this on Zoom, but I'll just give them long distance high fives on your behalf from here, although I do see a lot of people in the chat congratulating them, so well done to Colin and the team. Okay, so let's kick off. You've all been incredible over the last year or so in the face of extreme adversity. Let's have a look at a short video, including a very beautiful voiceover, and see what exactly some of you have been up to. Isn't that amazing? 3 pages long, and I had to really cut it down because, so what you're seeing is just a sample of what all those organisations were doing, and those organisations are just a cross section of the incredible work that has been going on all across Northern Ireland and beyond. We notice you and we appreciate you. Thank you for everything you've done in the last year, everyone. So it's time for our first speakers. Let's hear firsthand from a number of social enterprises from right across Ireland, north and south. Last year, Social Enterprise NI was delighted to see the formation of its sister organisation, Social Enterprise RI. And we'd like to give a special Northern Ireland welcome today to Tammy Darcy, their CEO, and also to Dave Neville of JumpAgrade and Karen Leigh of Sensational Kids. Moving north, we have David Hunter, who is CEO of Access Employment Limited Larne, Jacinta Linden, CEO of Bolster Community in Newry, of GLL Better in Belfast. So first of all, let's welcome Tammy Darcy. Hiya, Tammy. Tammy is the CEO of the Shona Project, which is a non-profit organisation which aims to inspire and empower young women. But she's here today in her capacity as CEO of Social Enterprise Republic of Ireland. And that's the new organisation which is a representative body for social enterprises in the Republic of Ireland. Tammy, you're so welcome. Tell us about SERI.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here. We weren't here last year because SERI didn't exist last year. We just launched in July, mid-pandemic. And we have been so welcomed by, you know, as we call our sister organisation in Social Enterprise Northern Ireland, who have been around for a lot longer than us and have been a really, really good support to us. So we launched in July just gone. We are completely almost practitioner led, so we have a majority practitioner membership on our board, and we also have a practitioner council which we established in November because we wanted to be the authentic voice of the social enterprise sector in the Republic of Ireland, and we wanted to make sure that our policies and how we approached our work was really led by those that are doing the work on the ground. And you're going to hear in a minute from 2 of our members, Karen Leigh, who's on our board, and Dave Neville, who's on our practitioner council. So it's been a really tough year for us, just like it has been for you. A lot of us are in survival mode, but you know, just like you showcased, our social enterprises down here have done amazing, inspiring work to survive and to continue to create the impact that they're so passionate about, because it's needed now more than ever.
And you're going to work with Colin and the team to form partnerships and sort of share best practice, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of differences between the 2 areas. Like, we have a social enterprise policy down here, which you don't have, but Colin and his team have a lot more experience in other areas. Even if you look at where we sit in terms of government departments, where we sit and where the kind of support that we get. And also, if you look at the social enterprises, the models are quite different as well. But it's really important to us to continue to build our relationship with Colin and the team, to share that knowledge and to support each other, because, you know, one of the most important things to us in this sector is peer networking, peer support, sharing knowledge, collaboration, and we want to lead when it comes to that.
Okay, brilliant. So hopefully once things kind of open up again, we'll get you up here. We'll be able to all meet in person and start to build some of those partnerships. So Tammy, we're going to chat to a couple of your partner organisations now. First we have Dave Neville. Hiya, Dave. Dave is from JumpAgrade. which is an online platform that helps young people to fulfill their potential. Dave, tell us a little bit more about JumpAgrade.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me to be here today. So yeah, we started out JumpAgrade in 2017, and we looked at that in the classroom there's 25 students to one teacher, and that makes it really hard for teachers to get that kind of one-to-one time with their students. Now, the problem we then saw was that students were turning to private tuition outside of school. And there's a huge number of students who aren't lucky enough to be able to access those supports. So we actually realized this from starting out, that those students who have the potential to want a further education maybe aren't receiving the same opportunities as those who had it. So we actually started supporting students by getting funders in to have an online platform that helps students get one-to-one support online. So yeah, our kind of journey has been from identifying a small group of students that in our local area that we started supporting with teachers through our platform online, and it's grown now to supporting hundreds of students across the country that have ties to access programs in universities like Trinity College, UCC, DCU and UL.
So you guys had started in 2017. Going from the pandemic hit, how did that change things for you?
Yeah, it was, I mean, we went from, I suppose education got turned upside down in the space of the last 12 months, where what was once kind of a novelty of working online with their teachers, which is how we kind of started out. It was funny looking back, students were actually kind of excited about the idea of submitting work online, and now all of a sudden they're starting to feel scared about it because that's become the norm. So yeah, our novelty quickly wore off in that regard. But that meant we had to look at different ways to adapt to how we could reach those students and how we could support them in new ways. So, or kind of the teachers that we work with across the country, we've had over 1,000 teachers apply to work with us, and it meant that we really get to work with the cream of the crop, and that kind of the importance of not just kind of the academic support, but seeing the knock-on effect it had on students' confidence, and the idea of, you know, if you break down a barrier a student may have with maths, for example, it's often a common one they come to us with, that once they get over that kind of problem subject or problem area they have, it can have a really positive knock-on effect on other areas that they have within school. They start to build confidence, they have more motivation around and not being fearful towards exams. So not just the academic side that we worked on, we also started bringing in like a well-being program and study skills webinars to just trying to support the students as best we could at the time that they were going through.
So obviously the needs have changed dramatically, because now that they can't get into school, is there much more of is the well-being much heavier now?
Yeah, so we notice, I mean, always the exam time is a really stressful time for young people, and we've always been very conscious of that. Now, what we do really well is that kind of feedback aspect of it, the academic support, but we know that we have students at a really stressful time, so we wanted to be able to provide those additional supports. We did things like we knew we couldn't be the expert in everything, so we partnered with other organisations. So, for example, Jigsaw, who's the national charity for youth wellbeing in Ireland, we've kind of referred students onto them. So the idea being that if they do show signs of needing additional support when it comes to mental health, rather than trying to take it all on ourselves, we're trying to triage that and actually refer students on. And when we have a lovely example of one particular girl who came to us for support in English, she was the only one in her class who was doing higher level. So it's very hard for the teacher to be able to engage with that girl. But again, so we were able to help her build confidence. She was worried that she was going to fail. She ended up doing really well in her exams, but we also helped put her in touch with the Jigsaw organization and the stuff that she was going through from a mental health perspective. She talked about how impactful it was to be able to put in touch with the right people at the right time. So that's something that we're really lucky to be able to do, I suppose, is that when we do have engagement with these students, we have a responsibility to also help them find the supports outside of ourselves if that's necessary too.
And do you find that there's obviously there's been a massive increase in the need for your services, but do students report that they're benefiting?
Yeah, it's really lovely to see. So last year, we did a survey of all of our students that we'd work with. There was an average rate improvement of 14.6%, which is really tangible in terms of the amounts that they improve, but that's just one part of it. Almost 9 in every 10 students reported an increase in confidence, and that's where the really exciting part for us is seeing that they get over those problem areas. They now have more confidence going to sit exams, and you hear the most incredible stories, like one girl who came to us who needed support for 2 subjects. We worked with her, helped her build confidence, but we later found out that she was a member of the traveling community, and she has now gone on and she's studying to be a teacher in college. And just the impact that has on her and her family and her community is phenomenal. So to think that we played a small part in that in terms of giving her help academically, and then that sparking other stuff as well, that's something we're really proud of.
And David, if everything was okay tomorrow, would you change the way you're doing things at the minute, or have you responded well to moving more online?
I think for anyone here, there's massive challenges with being able to adapt, and with that, yeah, it would. Have we done everything perfectly? Absolutely not. But I suppose we're lucky to be in a space where online education, the need for what we do has grown, and we're lucky, for example, that we're part of the Social Entrepreneurs Ireland network. We're scale partners with them, and that's allowed us to do things like we've received funding to hire 2 full-time teachers to join our team from the summertime, and then again, like the idea of having those who are 100% focused on reaching students from less fortunate backgrounds and looking to provide them with the extra step up is something that as we've evolved, so too has the world with COVID, post-COVID, and education as well. So it's about keeping up with the change.
David, thank you so much for that. I could listen to that story all day, as I can with everybody. Unfortunately, we only have about 6 minutes for each speaker because we're rushing through everybody in 45 minutes. But they will all be around later on to network with you. If you have questions, feel free to approach anyone. Also, another member of SERI is Karen Leigh. Hiya, Karen. Karen is from Sensational Kids, which is a national organisation that provides affordable and accessible children of all of us, many of whom have Down syndrome and many other developmental delays. Karen, how has the last year been for you?
I would describe it as a roller coaster, which I think most social entrepreneurs will identify with anyway. But I think the past year really, and I know this word is bandied about a lot, it really has been unprecedented in the challenges that we've had to face and overcome in the past year. So it has been a very difficult year as the CEO. Because say when the first lockdown hit last March with us, we had we still have 4 child development centres around the country. And when the first lockdown hit, we had to close them because we didn't understand at the time that we were an essential service. So nobody knew what to do. So basically what happened to us is every family cancelled their appointments, schools were closing, everything just shut down. And that was very challenging because I was there thinking, oh my God, we have 4 premises rented around the country. We have landlords, we have rent to pay, we have a team of about 25 staff to pay. How are we going to pay our overheads? And that was really my main concern, is are we going to survive this? And at the time I actually thought, there is no way we can survive this, And at the same time, we had many vulnerable families and children who needed our support more than ever. So once we had a bit of time to figure it all out, anyway, we worked with a health and safety consultant. We got confirmation that we were allowed to deliver our services as an essential service, and we had to try to move our therapy services online. And it was very difficult for our therapy team because nobody knew how to deliver therapy services online. It was something we hadn't done before, so it was totally new to us. And then families were a little bit apprehensive about engaging in online because, like we were talking before, all of a sudden people have a camera in their house, and nowadays we're all very used to it, but back in March nobody was used to it. So, and then we have to remember that some of the children that we work with aren't always suitable for online support. So a lot of the children we would work with would have attention and concentration difficulties. And like you hear it on the news with children with additional needs all the time, online doesn't always work for them. And that was the challenge that we had to overcome as well, because those were the kids that actually needed us the most during that time and still do. So it was hugely challenging, and we had very varied responses from our landlords around the country, from being very supportive to being unsupportive, because we were dealing with 4 different landlords. But anyway, we reopened back in June, and we now provide essential face-to-face supports. We worked with a health and safety consultant. We had to get grant funding to go to fund that, and we were very fortunate to get it. And we couldn't really have reopened without that to help us to deliver our services safely and effectively, for that face-to-face. And it was very challenging for our therapy team as well, because, when they signed up to become a speech and language therapist or occupational therapist, they never envisaged having to be a frontline worker during a pandemic. So, supporting them through their anxiety, through all of that, having to put themselves out there to support the families and all of that was very challenging. But having said that, I mean, it has been a tremendous year. That we still supported 1,500 children last year. We have an online shop as well that is part of our social enterprise that helps us fund our therapeutic services. We still managed to deliver 50,000 products through that last year, and we provide online training for parents and teachers as well. So we had a trainer due to come over to deliver our Handwriting Without Tears program from the States, and we had to move that course online. But it has opened up, I was saying earlier, and was thinking, it does open lots of opportunities, so nowadays we provide speech and language therapy online, and I can have a speech and language therapist who's in Cork being online providing speech and language therapy for a child in Donegal. So those geographic boundaries have been opened up, and that's something we will keep, I think. When we at some point hopefully get out of this situation, we will keep part of that learning, and doing online training, doing online meetings, and providing therapy online for children where we can. So there's been lots of opportunities too. So that's why, I really would describe it as a roller coaster, from being the depth of despair, saying how on earth are we going to survive this, to saying actually there are opportunities in this situation. We've learned a lot, and we still continue to operate, and we'll still keep some of the learnings from that into the future.
Karen, you totally blew me away with what you've just said. We had this conversation on the phone earlier in the week, and I was sitting on the phone, she just like, I don't know how you went in to work every morning, you got up and did that every morning, because it was such a mountain in front of you, that all of those families, the impact that your services shutting down while you reassessed, how you managed to climb out from under that. But then there you are, like, yeah, it gives loads of opportunities and stuff. You're unbelievable. Like, people want to connect with you, but it's just so uplifting and so unbelievable that you've come out the other side of it. You've gone, yeah, well look, we've learned this and we've done this, but that was such a task. How did you get up every day and do that?
I don't know. I honestly think it's only something I've learned recently. I do think it's your mindset, and I think most social entrepreneurs and people who work in the social enterprise sector are very resilient. You have to be, because I do think it is quite challenging to run a social enterprise as opposed to a for-profit making company, and you have to be very resilient. You have to look after yourself. You have to have the right mindset to do that. And it's just about figuring it out. I think you have to be a good problem solver as well, and I think most social entrepreneurs are. That's why we exist in the first place, because you're solving problems. So it's just about solving different problems over the past year than the problems we would have set up our organizations for, and the problems we were trying to solve then. So I think most social entrepreneurs, most social people who are involved in social enterprises are used to that. So it's just about adapting and saying, okay, this is a different problem. We've been here before, we've gotten so far, we can do this again. So you just have to sit down and figure it out, really.
Oh, it's so inspirational, absolutely unconquerable. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of people want to connect with you later through you can message Karen directly, if you search for her name, or you can just sort of say what you think about her in the general chat. Karen, thank you so much for sharing that. So we're going to move north now. The lovely David Hunter is here. He is from AEL, which is Access Employment Limited. They're based in Larne. It's Northern Ireland's first social firm to support those with disabilities, health and social disadvantage into meaningful employment. David, you're very, very welcome. Give us a bit of an overview of what was going on at AEL before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, well, we had seen a rapid period of growth in our social enterprise activities, really from about 2012. We got access to an amazing building, which had previously been used as a college of further education. It was being underutilised, and we managed to get access to that building to start a whole new range of social enterprise businesses, programs, and activities around really setting social enterprise right into the middle of our community, because the building itself was central to the town in terms of its geography and so on. So it was all about raising our profile, letting people know that we do, and creating an even bigger social impact in terms of the work that we do with people who are marginalised in the community. So we've built since 2012 5 different social enterprise businesses. everything from a bottled water plant to quite a sizable online business where we sell goods right across the globe. We also have a cafe, we have a garden centre, we have allotments, and we do a lot of subcontract work as well for the private sector companies such as Bombardier, who are now Spirit and K-Rend, and some of Northern Ireland's top blue chip companies. So that's where we were. Rapid growth, increase in our turnover. Over that period, went from a turnover of £272,000 up to close on to 1.5 million. Created somewhere in the region of 32 jobs, 36 jobs in total, and really, you know, really on the up post or pre-COVID.
And then.
Yeah, you know, and then it hit. I was actually down in the RDS doing a piece with the at a conference where a lot of the various departments from the Republic of Ireland were there. We were talking about social value and procurement and commissioning and so on. And the message went round that day that the Taoiseach had just made an announcement to say that schools were closing, nurseries were closing. You'd have thought somebody had said a meteor was about to hit the earth, and you know, the RDS practically cleared that day. Now, some people have said that's because I was doing a bit of a speech, but I hope that's not the reason that the building was cleared on today. So look, we went through what we can only describe now, looking back, as the trauma of everything around closing down. We've seen all our trainees. We'd have over 100 weekly training placements who were first really to vacate the building because we wanted to make sure that we kept them safe. And then our businesses one by one started sort of closing down and wrapping up. And overnight, the thing that we really considered as our key strength, which was our business activity, became our key weakness. Clear water, for example, where we sell largely to the hotel, restaurant and cafe trade. Obviously, hospitality was closing up at a rate of knots, and our orders just dropped off the edge of the cliff. And really that happened to most of our business activity. The income absolutely seized up. You know, it was a very challenging time. I think, to be honest, as I look back, you know, I think we were all in shock, because one of the signs of being through a traumatic incident is when you look back and you say to yourself, what just happened? I can't remember how I was dealing with all of the various elements of what I was doing, but somehow we've got through. And I remember,
tell us what you did to get through, then how you transformed it.
Yeah, well, look, I remember sitting in May, it was, in a big empty building, which was normally completely full of activity. That was really the low point for me, because as I went through the building, you know, there were no trainees, there were no staff. And I got a very interesting distraction through Social Enterprise NI, which was concentrating on lobbying on behalf of the social enterprise sector. And at this point, you know, I must say, you know, the work that Colin and Amanda and David put in terms of lobbying for this sector was just second to none. You know, they were there night and day for people, and we realised that some of the grants were a bit slow at coming through, and we really had a job to do in terms of lobbying on behalf of the sector. And you just couldn't have got, they are the A team, you just couldn't have got a better team to pull together. And that's what this took. Did here was we looked at strengthening the parts of our business that were continuing to survive. So our online business was continuing to survive. So we're looking at strengthening that, but we also looked at diversification. And the main thing that we did in terms of diversification was our water bottling plant. We stopped thinking about that as a water bottling plant, and we said, no, it's a bottling plant. So we come up with an idea basically that we would start to produce hand sanitizer, of which I have a bottle, as in the best Blue Peter style. We started making bottles of hand sanitizer, again under the Clearer brand, but we offer a completely unique proposition there, where it's about return, refill and reuse. So we wanted to have a social impact with this product. We wanted to have an economic impact with it, because obviously we wanted to keep people in work. And we wanted to have the environmental impact as well, as we just don't need loads more plastic containers out there being put in the landfill. So what we do is we offer a refill pack, which is a 5 litre refill pack. And every time someone returns one of those 5 litres to us for refill, we make a donation of £1 to Children's Cancer Fund here in Northern Ireland. Again, we wanted to set up an example to other people who don't understand the differences between charitable organisations, social enterprises who by and large are about business activity and creating income, versus the like with the Cancer Fund for Children here, who were 100% dependent upon charitable giving, and they were suffering really badly as well during this pandemic. So we wanted to come up with an example to tell people this is the difference between these two elements of what charity can look like.
So essentially, you said to me whenever we spoke about this on the phone that you in terms of diversification, you just looked around and you said, okay, we bottle water, but it's not necessarily water. We have a bottling plant. And then you thought, so it's about resourcefulness. You said we don't have resources, but we have resourcefulness.
Yeah, and I think that's key, that people understand the difference between resources versus resourcefulness. You know, who couldn't do with more time, more people, more space, more money to do more things? You know, that's common to us all. You can actually do without resources, and as Karen was alluding to, you can realise yourself that you're getting up to go again, and you can come up with a plan for that, and you can change your method of operation. When the landscape changes around you the way it has changed during this pandemic, you have very little option but to get up and going again. Otherwise, you will fail. And you can actually get up and going again without the resources, but you can't do it without resourcefulness. Everybody needs resourcefulness in their organisation, and that's what I think a lot of the social entrepreneurs that we have on today are all about.
Brilliant. David is going to be around. He has a lot more to say about resourcefulness. So if you want to contact him, you can contact him directly. If you go through the chat, search under participants for David Hunter. David, thank you. I love that story. But I need to rush on to speak to Jacinta next. Jacinta is from Bolster Community, which is a charity and social enterprise based in Newry in Kilkeel. It's a practical, hands-on charity that works alongside families and communities. It's just so raw, and it made me I have to say, it made me very emotional and inspired. You know, as I've said about everybody, really did. But yours, something about yours is just so grassroots. Talk to us about what happened last year, Jacinta.
Okay, so following on from David is a bit of a task, and from the others from the Republic. So,
I think you're fit for it, love.
We'll give it a shot. So, look, good to be here. And I need to watch the time, 10:44. Right. So, yes. So Jacinta Linden, Bolster Community, we started out in, like David, feeling very ambitious for financial year end last year. We were then known as Space NI, supporting people in community enterprise. So our pivot has encompassed a rebrand, a negotiation out of our high street premises, finding new premises, a refurbishment, and we will relocate in the next 2 weeks to a fully functional new premises. So I suppose, Kate, if I go back to the 19th of March last year, and a bit like David, my recollection is of sending an email to an interagency kind of chain mail, just broken, and everybody was lining up their ducks. And I sent an email, a generic email was sent out, and I responded, and I got 120 out of office replies. And I just stood back and went, what's just happened here? What happened here? At the time when people need us most, so many organisations were leaving the stage, some for reasons around, you know, social distancing because the buildings weren't fit. But to me and our team, we felt we needed to stand up even more. We're primarily a family support charity. So we help ordinary families through extraordinary challenges, some of which are around, you know, parents facing terminal cancer, parents dealing with special needs with themselves or with the children, dealing with multiple deprivation. We have high levels of poverty. 1 in 4 of every child in Northern Ireland is within the multiple deprivation factor and definition of poverty. So not only was there always a job to be done, there was even a more critical job to be done when, as I talk about, the lights went out. So very quickly, our team organised, supported, I have to say, largely by Social Enterprise and I, by Community Finance Ireland, by Department of Economy and the Department for Communities. It definitely takes a village to raise a child, and it took every element of society to get us where we got to. So within a week, as I say, we practice across a largely rural, and also we are very close to the border. So the impact of COVID was a kind of a double whammy, because people were spatially isolated, you know, in a rural area. And then other people were further from benefits because they worked cross-border, and the impact of that cross-border hit was largely felt in our area. So we went online, and our three areas are seniors. So we provide a home to hospital service, which takes rurally isolated elderly people and single dwelling people to hospital for chemotherapy, radiotherapy. So a critical service, but a lot of the treatments were stood down. And so we had a pivot, and that service became about getting prescriptions, medicines, groceries to people who were ill, people who were scared, people who were lonely. And we set up a chatty clinic where we set up a traffic light system so people could engage with us on a green, you know, we monitored their needs on a green, amber, and red basis, and we moved into a different level of help and support. So, and the other sense that we had is our social enterprise. So we got involved in social enterprise, and we absolutely love this sector and welcome any opportunities to partner or work with our Republic of Ireland counterparts. But our journey into social enterprise has been sort of wavy, and we have settled on a product which is a fabulous soy wax candle made by young people with mixed ability. Candles smell beautiful, they're soy wax, and they're made in our factory in Newry. But like David, the day the lights went out, we couldn't have our young people in anymore, and that had a pivot. So we had to find a way of bringing, still opening the door to our young people with ability and still allowing them to play a meaningful part in society. So look, we had that kind of initial, you know, call to arms where everybody dug deep and found the resources and went out to do the most they could. And we were sitting at a Zoom meeting about a week later, and I could see some of the body language of the staff kind of a bit defeated and a bit down, and the staff were saying, we're doing good. And then one of our family support workers said, yeah, but we need to do more. We need to do more. And I looked at her and I said, Jenna, what do you mean? And she said, I'm leaving mums in their gardens and older people up lanes, and they're desperate, they're lonely, they need company, they need connection, we need to do more. And I said, well, what would more look like? And she said, I don't know, bake a cake. Give them something that says we've got your back, we care for you. So I said, well, okay, let's go do that. And so within 48 hours, we had Debenhams give us their whole stock of Easter eggs they couldn't sell. We had traders all around Newry handing goods. Our candle factory was raided, and all of our products were taken out and put in kits, and they were dropped off in the gardens and the doorways of families and older people, and they became known as kindness kits. So over the next couple of weeks, as well as doing their kind of intervention support for the children and our online support, we moved one of our products, which was a bit like what Karen was talking about. We have a program called Friends Resilience, which helps children to overcome anxiety. And we had to really test the water about whether it would work online. So as well as now moving the programs online, we were dropping off little kindness kits so the children felt a connection with us beyond the screen. And so they were sitting with their hug in a mug, or their candle, or their soaps. We also pivoted to produce beautiful soaps during the time. So a couple of things happened. The communities started to pick up on this and started to nominate people they felt were doing things in their community that needed recognition. And all of a sudden, it was like a roving roadshow of every Friday night, our team and a camera crew out delivering kindness kits all across Northern Ireland. Now, the good thing about that was these were ordinary people facing an extraordinary challenge, and our staff were feeling really fulfilled and getting loads of promotion for people who were giving of themselves. But then we also pivoted our e-commerce site, and our sales of products took off. In fact, we're up 300% in sales. So there was a method in our madness. And I suppose, you know, some of the things that I was thinking about, and I know David alluded to, and some of our other speakers alluded, in the middle of difficulty, there's always an opportunity, and you can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And my God, did our team adjust their sails. They gave it in spades. So I mentioned earlier on, we started off with Space and I. We dug deep to find out, you know, what was working best for us, and we found that getting up close to our community was where we needed to be. So we negotiated out of our high street lease. As I say, we've taken over a derelict shop in one of the biggest housing estates in Northern Ireland, and we'll be moving in within the next couple of weeks to a beautiful refurbished premise, largely supported by CFNI and DFC and the grants that you guys lobbied so hard to get to us. And David, you were a personal great support to me. Whenever there were days I looked out the window and thought, my God, how will we get through this? It was your kind words who encouraged me to go on and to push this. So in terms of what more can I say to you, we're up. We had a 70% increase in demand for service. At the same time, we had a 90% drop in income. And if we can overcome that, my God, we can all do so much more in the future. We're in a recovery stage now, so it's going to take different skills to drive through the next stage. So that's our bit. And again, if any of you need nice products for Mother's Day, available bolstercommunity.org, direct to your mother, sister, friend, whoever, and they can be used for all occasions. That's the pitch. And David, I'd say our soap might give your sanitizer a run for its money. Thank you.
We're going to battle of the social enterprises next. Jacinta, thank you so much. It's such an inspiring story. And I see Amanda has put the Bolster Community link in there so people can go and look at the candles and buy candles there. But it was one thing that you had said to me I want to draw on just quickly before I go to speak to Gail. The fact that one person on that Zoom call had said, we need to do more, opened a raft of opportunities. So from within that situation that was just like, I mean, I hate using the word unprecedented because it just seems so.
It was. Jenna turned it. She said she's a tray baking mom of 3, and she said we need to do more, and we absolutely did. I'm proud to have done it.
Phone about that conversation, that Zoom call where one girl was just like, we need to do more than that. But you picked up on that and you turned it around, and just hats off. Unbelievable. And thank you for sharing that. Jacinta will be around. You can message her through the participants. If you just search for Jacinta there, you'll be able to find her. I need to jump now to Gail. Hiya, Gail. Gail Kincaid is from Healthy Kids, which is a health and wellbeing program for children to increase physical activity, decrease teacher workload, and improve pupil engagement. Gail, you guys worked in schools and then schools closed. Oh, I can't hear Gail. Sorry. Are you still on mute? Looking fabulous while you do, though, I have to say. Oh, there you go. We've got you now.
Hello,
Gail.
Everybody. Thank you so much, Kate. Yes, Healthy Kids have been going from 2014, and we have literally grown step by step, year on year. We ended up literally just before everything changed with being in 150 schools, impacting over 12,000 kids a week with physical activity, both in school and, of course, after school clubs. And like all the other speakers, when things literally stopped, we went, oh my goodness, we have literally, where do we go? Our primary business was schools, was clubs, was keeping kids active, was keeping kids' mental health through activity and really having that connect with children and making them realize how important, you know, because the main ethos of Healthy Kids was no child is left behind. It doesn't matter if you're sporty. It doesn't matter if you are not into sport. Our activity was very much pivoted towards fun, active, you know, really kind of joyous and really like sort of interactive sessions in school, and every child took part. So that all changed, and like everybody else's, resilience was just called to question, going how and what and where do we go from here? And I remember sitting in around a large table with all our coaches going, okay, what do we do? And we all sat and went, okay, we need to keep kids going. We need to make sure our focus is on children, because children have largely been forgotten about in schools because everybody's been stuck at home, especially country children who don't get to sort of see their neighbours or see their friends through the window. Like I have 2 kids, we live in the country, and they haven't seen their friends properly for nearly a year. So it's very much looked at, right, what can we do? So we all sat as a team, and like a lot of social enterprises, it's a small team. It's not like, you know, you're drawing on everybody. We had up to a stage of 50 coaches, you know, working part-time or some full-time. but it was a small management team. So we sat and went, right, okay, what can we do? What can we try and make sure that children will still be engaged, still look at, you know, being as normal as they can be. So we started sort of looking at very much an online process, because a lot of the coaches have been very well known in the schools. So we started with a global challenge. It feels like 10 lifetimes ago since we started this. And within 5 weeks, we had over 35,000 activities, all login stuff on their app. We had beat the coach. We had nutritional information. We had sports challenges. We had nutritional tips. We had all these different activities to try and kind of keep our program very normal and try and put it online, which was fantastic. And then, of course, what's the most important time of the year for kids in school? It's their sports day. It's when their parents come in. It's when, you know, they get to kind of show what activity they have done and how well they have achieved and what they have achieved during the year. So we kind of thought, right, how can we do this? So we created a fantastic online virtual sports day. We partnered up with Spar and Eurospar, and we had weekly activities. We did things like the egg and spoon race, and we'd Sammy Spar with being videoed with our coaches, and this all went out week by week. From then it was very much saying, okay, so you've 6 weeks activity right on to sports day, and then we held the most amazing live virtual sports day in Paul Street. Everybody was socially distanced. It was hilarious. We did a live stream on that just to try and engage with kids to go, this is normal. I know what you're going through is not normal, but we're trying to create that normal vibe, trying to connect with children to go, this is what you would be doing if schools were opened. So we had over 25,000 children took part in our sports day, and over 570 schools, and it reached right across the island of Ireland. And there's one thing I love about our wee country, we definitely are resilient. We will come up with remarkable ideas, and that's something social enterprise has seen time and time again. So we just have been running non-stop. We then created some virtual summer camps. We did Gaelic games, we did rugby, we did soccer. And then when the schools went back, that kind of tentative back in September, it was very much right, okay, do they want coaches in? You know, and most schools didn't. So we created this huge online platform where we got the coaches who were known in the schools to do Zoom classes online in school. So you were still having those classes, so P1 to P3, you know, the different sort of age groups. So it was all very age appropriate. Every child was on. I mean, we had Zoom classes of 80, we still have, they're still running now, 80, 90 kids on, all doing their exercise with their coach, because that's their norm, that's what they were used to, and that was so, so important for us as a company to create that. The brilliant thing about the lockdown is we have had so much time now to move everything digital. We've had some investment, huge investment, almost 130,000, to look at the AI of our app and our dashboard to really hone in on how we can help children to continue to be active. And the government's guideline is like for 60 minutes a day of activity for every child. So we now are creating an AI through wearable devices, through, you know, self-input, through the dashboard and everything, that children can get their 60 minutes of activity, because we know if we can create a normal habit from P1, that will be their norm right through as they come into adulthood, adolescence and everything else. So it's really, we're really, really passionate about making sure we get our 60 minutes of activity a day, because I don't know about anybody else. I don't get it because I sit in front of a screen, but my kids are getting it. That's their normal and they know. So if we can create a generational thing and run that out, we know that we can help children in a long-term process.
It's unbelievable, just the heart. And you said a sentence there that I just went, oh, yeah. The brilliant thing about lockdown was, and like, you guys found something brilliant about lockdown. You looked and you thought, because with that situation where the schools were shut, surely there was moments where you just went, well, I work in schools. What?
There's many moments.
Is this going to work?
Many moments, but the one thing that I have found is, yes, we've all been down, and it's right across this panel, it's right across social enterprise, it's right across Ireland. We've all been down, we've all sat and wondered how and what and where on earth do we go, but we've all found a way. People find a way. It's not a pleasant journey at times. You know, it's kind of a bit, hold on, see where we can take this. But people want to connect. It's like Jacinta was saying, people want to connect, you know, with people. They want kindness. They want to see that. And that's what we believe, like Healthy Kids, very, very much so. We're so passionate about keeping kids active. We always have been. We're all parents. We all see what lockdown has done to our kids in their mental health, in their physical health. You know, all the big sporting organisations are probably terrified. How are we going to get kids back into sport? You know, and that's the one thing, that's the sporty kids, that's 33%. We work with 100% of kids. We work with every child. No child is left behind. We don't just take the sporty ones and make them better. We take that 10%, 20% of kids who are, you know, maybe really don't want to do sport, don't want to move, don't want to do an activity, and we make it fun. And we get them, we get their heart rate, and we get everything motivated about them to get those children moving. And that's our passion.
Gail, thank you so much for telling that story. As I said, there's just so much heart in what everybody's saying today, and it's so personal, and it's not, oh, well, our numbers are this, and it's about the human side of it. So thank you so much for that, Gail. You'll be around to answer questions. If you want to look for Gail and the participants or find out more about Healthy Kids, she'll be able to tell you how to do that. It's time for our last speaker now, because we're very tight on time. It is the very fabulous Jackie Pope. And Jackie and I were on the phone to each other for at least half an hour before we even mentioned this talk. So Jackie, we'll have to keep it to 6 minutes today. But Jackie, you're with GLL Better, which is a social enterprise delivering leisure, health and community services. So they're across the UK, but they now run all 15 of Belfast City Council's leisure centres. Yeah, but she hasn't given them yet. Also Falls, Leicestershire, White Rock, etc. Jackie, what a year for you guys.
I know. Firstly, I'm delighted to be here, Kate, and I loved our chat the other day for sure. And I just want to say a massive well done as well to the SENI team for what you know, the lobbying throughout. It was phenomenal. What did GLL do? Who are we? And many of you sat here today will probably have driven by one of our leisure centres, which Kate beautifully summed up some of them there, and I've no doubt if you live in the west of the city, you'll have seen our wonderful Andersonstown with the slides that we can't wait to get back open. So GLL are part of it. We're massive. This year will be a 28-year strong social enterprise. Our journey began in Belfast in 2015, and what a journey that has been. So throughout, I mean, when this hit, our team sat and we thought, you know, wow, you know, we went in February from having, you know, 194,000 visits, you know, through our leisure centres to suddenly being told that we had to close. So you can imagine, but, and then even in the start of March up until the 15th, you know, there was 120,000. So all of these, you know, all of these people had suddenly nowhere to go. But we sat, the team, we said, you know, what can we do? What social impact can we have? And we certainly have. So a couple of things just throughout the lockdown, our centres were open, 3 of them for NHS workers, Kate. So after a grueling and no doubt 12, maybe more hour shift, our centres were used where they could come and, you know, they could shower and refresh before they would go home to their families. We also are currently running a vaccine centre in Grove Wellbeing Centre, and we also did lots of classes live. I mean, like a lot of people here, and it's been amazing to listen to the story, you know, had to go digital and, you know, and get that moving quickly so we could reach people at home and, you know, support them through this journey. But certainly one of the most impactful things, and funny, when I was actually thinking about this in terms of what I could include in the 6 minutes is our health team. Now, some of you sat here might think, you know, what do they do? Because they see our Better, and it is associated sometimes with a gym. And when I was sitting and I was talking to the team about this and their journey, because they've been through this too, you know, as well as the people that we support throughout. And when I sat down and looked at this, we, from April last year until, and still ongoing now, our HealthWise team, a team of 8, have interacted with 8,000 people throughout lockdown. And we were all, I mean, everybody was vulnerable through this, you know, but there were some that were already vulnerable before COVID. And those were people that, you know, were undergoing cardiac rehab, cancer rehab, and general GP referrals, which, you know, a huge percentage was mental health referrals, which our team, so 8,000 interactions. How did we do that? So the team set up Zoom meets where they did virtual classes for these individuals. They had walking groups whenever we were allowed to have walking groups. And we had one-to-one calls, text messages, whatever the team could do in these times to support these vulnerable people, and even more vulnerable because of their situation. But that was phenomenal, and it certainly touched my heart, and I know what the team are doing day in, day out. So that was amazing. And as a result, and as a, you know, the team are now going to also be taking part and supporting our partners with, you know, Belfast City Council, Active Belfast, Macmillan, the Belfast Trust and Belfast Health and Development in a trial, a post-COVID trial, which is absolutely amazing for us. And as a social enterprise, we want to make, you know, or this journey accessible for as many people as possible. In fact, most of our memberships are at a 50% reduction. So that's amazing that, you know, our journey now, you know, coming out is that we want to get our leisure centres back open. You know, we want to get people back, and we want to make real and positive changes in people's lives. You know, and if anyone here hasn't been into one of our centres, we would love you, you know, send me a message on here, and it would be amazing to meet you and show you around and introduce you to some of our amazing team who deliver, you know, throughout COVID, and, you know, will do, you know, as our journey continues, when we get our centres reopened. Please come and visit us and see what we do.
I feel like we could organise a day in that thermal suite
in the spa.
Olympia. How many times have I mentioned it so far? Because it's one of the things I miss the most. It's amazing. But Jackie, I know you also, just to wrap up quickly, you cared a lot about the members, and then, you know, had the NHS coming in and your vaccination centre, whatever. But it was also a big challenge to look after your own team because you employ a lot of people.
Yes, no, absolutely. We've had, and that was of huge importance to us throughout, and their families as well, that, you know, we're living through this. We had lots of fun quizzes, voice messages, video messages out to the team, and, you know, we did calendars. You know, calendars were a little sort of mindset point every day, and, you know, without doubt, our team have been absolutely amazing. The ones that are currently operating and keeping the centres in a steady state, Kate, because our role now, as we come out of this, is as soon as we get the green light, we want to be open. So we've kept our centres at that steady state. You know, with 4,000 children before this that I know can't wait to jump back in our swimming pools. And, you know, we're currently working on products and programmes that we will be delivering when we get, you know, back open. And it's really important. Our children have been through absolutely, you know, and so many have mentioned this already. You know, we have already plans in place with products and programs, and we would love to hear from, you know, you guys here, you know, how we could work, you know, with other social enterprises. We already have a great relationship with Orchardville Cafe at the Grove. So, you know, for all of, you know, adults, children, we want to make, like I said, and I'll say it again, Kate, real and positive changes in people's lives and encourage, you know, the better health.
Thank you so much for that, Jackie. Now, ordinarily at this point, when I'm hosting an event and it's live, I'll ask for a round of applause. We can't do that Okay, maybe just encourage everybody to put a message in the chat to say well done to each and every one of you who have told your stories. I know there's so many more stories like this within the sector, and I just felt so inspired after speaking to each of you on the phone before today. And I actually got quite emotional. I sort of filled up a wee bit when Jacinta was talking about just how personal the level of care was that they were providing to. It's been unbelievable. I know all of you, I know as myself included, everybody, you know, if we stand and look, it's a bit of a pinch me moment to go, what am I doing right now? Okay, it's been such a whirlwind for everybody, but look at how your attitude has been. This is awful, but right, what do we do? It wasn't just, oh, this is awful, I'm hiding. It was, everybody came out fighting. There was a few wounds, but everybody came out fighting. So all of you, and just it's great examples of how the social enterprise has adapted during the recent months. It really gives us encouragement. The sector is definitely in safe hands. That was amazing. Keep up the great work. So now we're going to take a 10-minute networking break. Remember, the chats will be open. You'll be on your different tables. You can jump from table to table to meet people, but also do visit the sponsors areas down the sides of the screen. If you want to move tables, you just double click, and if there's a seat, you can go and chat to people at that table. There's a maximum of 6 people on each table, but if you want to find someone, look for them in the chat, find out where they are, and then you can join them on their table if there's room. We will be back shortly after the break with Chris from the Wild Hearts Group.